Someone born and raised in Reno, 60 years in the same city, recently moved to Mexico. Their explanation, posted plainly online, runs about 3 sentences. The cost of living got prohibitive on a fixed income. Crime went up. So did the homeless population. That was Reno talking, not Las Vegas. Nevada's whole pitch is built on the opposite story. Around 300 days of sunshine, no state income tax, housing that looks like a bargain next to California. The Silver State has been selling that deal since the 1950s, and for 5 straight decades, the census numbers backed it up. Population growing more than 50% every 10 years from 1950 through 2000. Then the curve bent, around 35% in 2010, roughly 15% in 2020. The boom didn't end, but it stopped behaving like one. This is a video about what it actually costs to live in Nevada now. Not visit, not retire to in a brochure, but live in. The mortgage, the car registration, the drive to the grocery store, the summer you spend indoors because the smoke from California has rolled over the Sierra again. Whether the deal still works depends on 3 things: where in the state you land, what you earn, and what you are willing to live without. Start with the scale, because most people get this wrong. Nevada is not a city with some desert around it. Central Nevada alone is roughly the size of South Carolina and holds about 30,000 people. That makes it among the emptiest stretches of the lower 48. The state has more named mountain ranges than any other. By one count, more than 300, all running north to south. It also holds one of the densest concentrations of natural hot springs in the country. 2 metros, Las Vegas and Reno, hold the overwhelming majority of residents. Everything else is small, old, and far from the next thing. What lives in that everything else changes the picture fast. Outside the 2 metros, the population skews older, retired, rural, and conservative. One longtime resident describes the small-town crowd as kind hillbillies. Not the sharpest, but they mean well and will help you out. A tiny town in Lincoln County sits 45 minutes from a grocery store and gets sonic booms almost daily from nearby military flights. That is one end of the Nevada spectrum. The other end sits 2 hours north of Las Vegas, in Pahrump, where a former resident says stepping outside in July feels like a flashbang, just burning white light well over 100 degrees. Further north, in Douglas County near Lake Tahoe, a 25-year resident who came up from Orange County compares the place to Bend, Oregon around the turn of the century. 4 full seasons, cheap utilities, solid neighbors, 20 to 30 minutes from several major ski resorts. The catch, in his own words, things close at 9, and it can be tough for a younger crowd. That is the same state. Those are people describing the same Nevada. Then there is the Tesla Gigafactory, which opened near Sparks in 2016. Long-term Northern Nevada residents name it again and again as the single event that priced them out of the region they grew up in. A 3rd-generation Reno native puts it more bluntly: we're the new California. The factory brought jobs. It also reshaped the math of living there. That story has a 2nd chapter most relocation videos skip, and it's worth coming back to. For now, hold the basic shape. No income tax is real. So is car registration that can run several $100s a year, and insurance among the higher rates in the country. The pitch is genuine. The reality is uneven. And the first place that unevenness shows up is in what a house actually costs. Affordable is one of the most slippery words in Nevada. It depends entirely on which border you crossed to get here. If you drove east from Los Angeles or the Bay Area, a 4-bedroom in Henderson around $500,000 looks like a clearance sale. If you grew up in Las Vegas on a casino paycheck, watching North Las Vegas push toward a $400,000 median feels closer to a slow-motion eviction. Same house, same price tag, two completely different emotional events. So go city by city, because Nevada does not have one housing market. It has roughly a dozen, and they barely speak to each other. Henderson is the suburban heart of the Las Vegas metro, and the cleanest practical starting point in the South for families and remote workers. Median home around $500,000, median household income near $90,000, average rent $1,500 to $1,700 a month. On paper, that math almost works. For a dual-income household pulling West Coast salaries, it absolutely works. Reno is the equivalent starting point in the north. Full-service hospitals, a usable international airport, 4 seasons. Median home in the mid-500s. Median household income in the low 80s. A one-bedroom rents for around $1,400. Notice the gap. Reno costs nearly as much as Henderson, but pays less. A longtime Reno resident, there since 1976, was blunt. Hardly any snow anymore, summers brutal, and a flat warning to anyone thinking of moving: do not come. It has been ruined. Carson City sits in the same range, around $500,000 for a house, with household income closer to the low 70s. The capital pays state government wages against near Reno prices. For local wage earners, the math gets tighter every year. Drive east, and the map breaks open. Ely sits in the mid-200s for a median home. A one-bedroom rents for around $700. Cost of living runs roughly 10% below the national average. Elko, 3 hours from anywhere, has a median income comfortably into the 80s because gold mining pays. But housing moves fast, whether you are buying or renting. If any of this is helping you sort what Nevada actually costs, a quiet tap on the like button helps more relocation-curious viewers find the breakdown. Then there is the part of the deal nobody puts on the billboard. Nevada really does not tax your paycheck. It does, however, charge car registration that can run several $100s a year, versus a small fraction of that in some neighboring states. Auto insurance ranks among the higher rates in the country. Sales tax sits in the mid-8% range in Clark County. Groceries are not exempt. If you spend a lot and earn a moderate income, the headline savings shrink fast. Which raises the question every long-term resident eventually asks: why did Reno and Sparks get so expensive in the first place, and so fast? Most long-term residents point at one building. A 2015 commenter who had owned in Sparks since 2000 says they sold and left just before the surge, and they credit the Tesla Gigafactory, which opened the following year near the Reno Sparks line. Before Tesla, a Sparks median home sat well under $300,000. By 2019, it was unrecognizable. Today, the Sparks median runs in the mid-500s, and Reno is right there with it. Tesla did not arrive alone. Amazon built warehouse capacity in Sparks. Other logistics and tech companies followed the same I-80 corridor. Wages went up in real, measurable ways. A mine or warehouse job in the Reno area pays meaningfully more than it did a decade ago. But housing supply did not keep up. And the people who built the place on Nevada wages, teachers, nurses, line cooks, third-generation locals, increasingly cannot buy in the city they grew up in. A long-term Douglas County resident, originally from Southern California, makes a point worth holding on to. The quick drive to Reno Tahoe International, and from there to the Bay Area, has quietly changed who can live in northern Nevada. A remote worker on a Bay Area salary can keep that salary, fly out of Reno when needed, and pay a fraction of what the same house would cost across the state line. That is the new math reshaping the region. It is also why locals, on local wages, feel pushed out. Statewide, the jobs picture is narrower than the casino stereotype suggests. Healthcare, construction, utilities, and mining are the four sectors residents consistently name as having real openings. In Elko, gold mining drives the median household income well into the 80s. The catch is the commute. Workers describe long stretches of unlit highway out to remote mine sites. Early starts, late returns, weather you cannot argue with. For a two-career household, the question is whether the second earner can find anything beyond retail or healthcare in the same town. Then there is Pahrump. A resident who lived there 2 years says they sent out a few hundred applications over 5 months and heard nothing back. Most listings were customer service. Senior citizens were working at McDonald's and Walmart because they could not afford to retire. If your relocation depends on landing a local job, Pahrump is the cautionary example, not the model. If you've done a small-town Nevada move yourself, what surprised you most about the local job market once you arrived? The answers in the comments tend to be more useful than any salary survey. The one genuine shift in rural Nevada over the last few years is Starlink. A stable outside salary plus reliable satellite internet now makes towns like Ely, Mesquite, and Fallon viable for remote workers in a way they were not a decade ago. In the metros, cable and fiber are normal. Outside them, terrestrial broadband thins out quickly, and cell coverage drops off the moment you leave the interstate corridors. Cheap housing, real internet at the house, a usable airport within driving distance. That combination is the only reason some of these towns are gaining anyone under 50 at all, which leaves a practical question. If the jobs are concentrated in 2 metros and a handful of mines, what does an ordinary Tuesday actually look like for the people living an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours from the nearest Walmart? In Rachel, Nevada, a tiny desert outpost, the nearest grocery store is 45 minutes away, and sonic booms from the military airspace rattle the windows almost daily. A resident who lived there 6 months called it the most interesting place they would ever live, and also said they did not enjoy it. Both things were true at once. That is the far end of the distance problem. But the distance problem shapes a normal Tuesday almost everywhere in the state. Henderson is so geographically large that you can spend 40 minutes driving without ever leaving city limits. Master-planned communities like Inspirada, Anthem, and Green Valley were designed around the car. The grocery store is a drive. The pediatrician is a drive. The good Thai place is a drive. None of it is far in a Los Angeles sense. It is just that nothing is close in a walkable sense. Plan on real miles on a vehicle and the registration and insurance bills that come with them. Henderson runs roughly 10 to 15% cheaper than Las Vegas proper, but it is still not cheap. 300 miles north, Elko is among the most livable rural towns in Nevada by a wide margin. Walmart Supercenter, Home Depot, real grocery stores, a hospital. For a town of around 20,000 surrounded by mining country, that is a lot. The catch is what surrounds it. The nearest major city, Salt Lake City, Boise, or Reno, is more than 3 hours away. If you need a specialist your local hospital does not carry, a cardiologist, an oncologist, a pediatric anything, you are driving, often into another state, and you are planning that drive weeks ahead. Anyone with ongoing medical needs should treat this as a deal-breaker question before signing anything. Rural Nevadans treat specialist appointments as a full-day expense. If you want an international airport, the same drive applies. In smaller towns, the math gets sharper. Families in Mesquite and other remote spots 2 to 3 hours from Las Vegas plan bi-monthly supply runs to the city for any significant shopping. Distance becomes a recurring household cost. Gas, time, a whole Saturday gone. Then there is cell service. Outside the metros, coverage drops fast. One resident put it plainly. Driving alone at night on a back road with no signal, you realize a breakdown could be a serious problem. Starlink has changed what is possible at home. It has not changed what happens between towns. Schools are the other recurring complaint. And for families with kids, this may be the single biggest variable in the move. Clark County is among the largest school districts in the country, and transplants from Denver, California, and Massachusetts describe it bluntly as a step down. Overcrowded classrooms, uneven teacher retention, and a wide gap between zoned schools in the same city. Henderson's east side and the master-planned communities draw the better-rated public schools in the south. Magnet and charter slots are competitive and worth applying for the year before you move. In the north, Sparks and Spanish Springs have a better reputation, though residents there say the good schools are full. Small-town schools are uneven, and licensed childcare in rural counties is genuinely scarce. Families lean on grandparents, neighbors, and church networks. So a normal Tuesday in Nevada is shaped less by the city you chose than by the distances inside it. The errand list looks ordinary. The drive time to complete it does not. Which raises the next question. What happens when you actually try to enjoy the outdoors that pulled you here in the first place? Lake Tahoe sits about 30 minutes from downtown Reno. And on a clear morning, it is genuinely one of the most beautiful places on the planet. It is also, in summer and winter alike, stupidly overcrowded. Parking lots fill before 9. Beach access fees stack up. The 2-lane roads around the South Shore back up for an hour. Start with the headline number. Nevada averages only a handful of inches of rain a year, among the driest states in the country. In Las Vegas, July highs sit near 106. In Pahrump, people describe stepping outside in July as a flashbang, burning white light well over 115 degrees. The wind off the valley floor in Henderson feels like standing in front of a blow dryer. Shade does not help. You will run air conditioning at least 6 months of the year, and a Las Vegas summer power bill of $300 to $400 a month is not unusual. In the South, this shapes everything. Lake Mead, formed by Hoover Dam, is the weekend release valve for Henderson residents. Red Rock Canyon sits 15 to 20 minutes from the Strip, a 13-mile scenic drive, dozens of hiking trails, climbers flying in from Europe to work the sandstone. For Las Vegas residents who actually use it, Red Rock is a daily life amenity, not a postcard. Move north, and the calculus changes. Reno gets 4 full seasons. Summers in the 90s. Real winters with snow that surprises drivers every year. Lake Tahoe is 30 to 45 minutes away. Mount Rose for skiing 20 miles out. Pyramid Lake to the north with white pelicans that confuse every first-time visitor. But there is an asterisk, and it has gotten worse every year. Wildfire smoke drifting east from California blankets Reno, Carson City, and the Tahoe Basin for weeks each summer. Ash on the windshield, gardens that fail, air quality bad enough that one resident without air conditioning ran 4 fans and coolers, gave up, and started planning a move to Washington. If outdoor life is the entire reason you are coming north, plan a backup hobby for August. Culture is where most newcomers get caught off guard. Las Vegas is genuinely diverse and largely indifferent to where you came from. Easier to be anonymous in, easier to be single in, more nightlife than any rational person needs. Reno is friendlier on paper and slower to let you in than it looks. The Douglas County resident who compared the area to Bend put the trade plainly. 4 real seasons, 20 to 30-minute access to several world-class ski resorts, cheap utilities. Things close at 9. A younger crowd will struggle to build a social life, and the dating pool outside the metros is thin and skews older. Newcomers consistently say it takes a year or two to find a circle, and that ski hills, gyms, churches, and volunteer fire departments do more of that work than bars do. In Ely and the older rural counties, generational homesteads and old money dominate. By one resident's account, newcomers get treated as newcomers for a long time before anything else about them registers. Politically, the metros lean blue, and the rural counties lean firmly conservative. That gap is wider in daily conversation than the voting maps suggest. Crime tracks the metros. Las Vegas property crime rates run above the national average, with car break-ins routine on the Strip's edges. Reno has seen an uptick that long-term residents flag often. Rural towns are quieter on paper, but harder to police across distance. A sheriff's deputy may be 40 minutes out. North Las Vegas and parts of central Reno are where the locals tell newcomers to look carefully at the block, not just the listing. So the outdoor promise is real and bigger than most states can offer. It also costs you summer afternoons indoors in the south, smoke weeks in the north, and a willingness to share the famous places with everyone else who saw the same brochure. The people leaving Reno after 30, 40, 60 years, and the families arriving from Orange County are often staring at the same Zillow listings, just from opposite ends of the math. Same market, 2 completely different verdicts. So who actually thrives here? Retirees with stable income are among the cleanest fits in the state. No income tax on a pension or Social Security check. Favorable trust and estate laws. Mesquite, Anthem in Henderson, and Carson City keep showing up by name. Slower pace, walkable pockets, medical access within reach, and home prices that, on a fixed income brought in from somewhere more expensive, still pencil out. California transplants with West Coast salaries thrive too, but in a narrower way than the brochure suggests. The savings are real if your paycheck stays Californian and your mortgage turns Nevadan. Locals earning Nevada wages in the same cities are getting squeezed out of neighborhoods their families have lived in for 2 and 3 generations. A longtime Las Vegas resident, in the area since 1995, put it bluntly: salaries are below what the housing market demands, and moving away has become unaffordable in its own right. Remote workers with outside salaries and Starlink are quietly becoming a third winning category. Ely, Mesquite, and Fallon suddenly viable now that the internet finally reaches them, with Reno Tahoe International close enough for the occasional flight back to a coastal office. Who struggles? Young, single people without outdoor interests in small Nevada towns. Pahrump and Winnemucca show the same pattern. Kids leave for Vegas or Reno the moment they can. Families dependent on strong public schools and short specialist drives. 2-career households outside the metros, where the second job often does not exist. Anyone with ongoing medical needs in a town more than an hour from a full hospital. People sensitive to heat in southern Nevada. People moving for scenery alone who haven't planned for smoke season in the north or July afternoons in the south. If a video like this one helps you think more clearly about a move, consider subscribing. And if a friend has been quietly weighing Nevada against a cheaper Sunbelt option, this is the one to send them. The people who do well here ran the actual numbers first. Pick the specific town, poll the specific median home price, check it against the paycheck you will actually be earning once you arrive, not the one you are bringing with you. Add the registration, the insurance, the summer power bill, the sales tax on groceries, and the round-trip drive to the nearest specialist your household will realistically need. If that math still works on a normal month, Nevada will work for you.